Tony, let me get this straight. The school keeps on calling you and they're like, hey, do you have a job yet? And you're like, yeah, I got a podcast, right?
Right.
Okay, well, if the guy from the school is listening, this is the evidence. Tony's got a job. It's a podcast, my guy. Let's get into it.
Let's go.
You want to talk about sports?
Yes, I want to talk about sports.
You want to get a real job? You want to talk about sports?
Sports.
Sports?
Sports.
Sports?
Sports.
All right, sports it is.
Welcome to Tony's Upset, a sports podcast fueled by autism and brotherhood. I'm Tony Chinelli, your host, along with my co-host, Gianni Chinelli. How are you today, Gianni?
I'm doing quite well. How are you?
I'm doing quite well, too.
Awesome. Well, today we're going to do things a little bit different. This is a sports podcast, and if you've listened before, we talk about sports. But also, this is a podcast led by Tony, who has autism. He is on the autism spectrum, and we are here to be voices in the autism community and to lift up those who have disabilities and to show them what we are capable of. And by we, I mean Tony. I mean, I have my own disabilities. There's speculation on whether or not I might have autism too, but that's not what we're here for. Today, we're here to talk about Tony. Tony, I want to talk today about your experience as a student, whether that's high school or college, because I know it's been a bit of a bumpy ride for you. So I think the first place that I want to start is high school, right? So in high school, you were going to go to a big public high school. And I remember Mom talked to the woman there about kind of the programs that they had for you. And the woman said something that really hurt you and Mom's feelings. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes, she did. So the woman just told our mom that Tony could only be a bad boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like at a grocery store.
At a grocery store.
Had she met you, the woman? Did you ever talk to this woman?
I don't think so, no.
So without knowing what your disabilities were, what your issues were, who you were as a person, your level of social aptitude, your level of intelligence, any of that stuff.
Yeah, she just said I could be a bad boy.
And that was kind of the final verdict.
Yep.
Yeah, and I remember that, and I think that's one of the things that will always stick with me is, I'm a big believer in the special education, education world, if you will. I am married to someone who does special education for high school students in a public high school, not the woman that told Tony that he could be a bag boy. And there's nothing wrong with being a bag boy. If you are listening to this as a bag boy, that's a real, valid, awesome career. But what I'm saying is there was a judgment made about Tony before there was something known about Tony. And this is something we'll talk about throughout the podcast, really, is autism is not a one-size-fits-all diagnosis, right? There used to be different words for autism, but really, it's a lot more complicated than that. Autism is a spectrum. It's not always the glamorized version we see in TV where characters are geniuses, but a little quirky. Sometimes autism manifests in social skill struggles, sensitivity to sound or touch, learning difficulties, motor difficulties, and these are all things that can make life a little trickier for someone that has autism. But it doesn't mean that people with autism are lesser than others. They still deserve to have the same access to pursuing their passions as anyone else. How do you think your autism manifests? What are the things you struggle with as a person? Say whatever you want to say, man.
Just with daily life, you know, sometimes brushing my teeth, or I've been getting better, but making sure I put cologne on, or having my shoes on right.
Yep.
And
making sure your shirt isn't on backwards.
Shirt on backwards, yes.
Making sure your shirt isn't your number one napkin choice.
Yes.
Coughing into your shoulder and not your hand.
Yes.
I see you laughing. Yeah.
Yes.
So when you say things like putting on deodorant and brushing your teeth, is that a memory thing or is that a motor skill thing? And by motor skill, I mean the ability for your brain to tell your hand, I need to brush back and forth and up and down on these teeth.
Memory thing.
Yeah. Do you think from a motor skill thing you struggle as well, tying shoes or putting on the shoes.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
What are some places in which your motor skills being limited affects you, you think?
Driving a car.
Yeah.
With my eyesight.
Yeah. Tony also has really bad eyesight. It's funny. I remember going, what is the word for an eye doctor? An optometrist? I'm going to say optometrist, and if I'm wrong, it's fine. So we went to the optometrist with Tony once, and they had this big letter E on the wall. I mean, this thing was a foot large. And the eye doctor was like, Tony, what is that? And I was like, Tony? And he was like, I don't know. And I was like, Tony, what is that? And he was like, I don't know. I was like, Tony, how can you not see? And the eye doctor was like, he's blind. That's why he's here. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize how blind you were. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So, I mean, we always joke Tony will stand in front of the TV like a foot and a half away and watch the game. You've got new glasses, though, whenever you can keep them clean. Do they help?
Or break them.
Yeah. I mean, do you break them or is it the dogs? A little bit of both?
A little bit of both.
I mean, the other thing is Tony has a lot of like nervous tics, and one of them is like he'll like take off his glasses and he'll just yank on them all the time, or he'll like push them against his head and like pull them apart. Oh my gosh, it drives me crazy. That's why sometimes during the podcast I'll reach over and clean his glasses. I'm actually going to do it right now. Let me see him. Come on, give him up. What else do you want to talk about, Tony? From like your life, your skills. How do you think you do socially? And what do you think has affected your social skills?
I think my social skills are getting better, you know. I work at a family's restaurant, Spiaggia, as a host, and I get to see a lot of people, and I get to talk to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how long have you been doing that for? A decade?
A decade, yeah.
I mean, if you're from the child labor department, Tony has not been doing this for a decade, but relatively speaking, in a pretend world, Tony has been doing this for about a decade. So he's really developed his motor skills. And it's kind of funny because we'll have people that like know Tony has autism, and Tony will come up to them at the bar and they'll be like, oh my gosh, you're Tony. Have you watched this team before? And Tony's like, you mean the Jacksonville Jaguars? Yeah. I can tell you everything about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Who do you think I am? You know? But again, that kind of lends to the conversation of like people hear the word autism and they think, you know, either like Sheldon Cooper off Big Bang Theory, or they think something like you're nonverbal or your motor skills have issues. And these are all okay things to have. If you're listening to this and you're nonverbal, we are so thankful you are here. Yes, if you have motor skill issues, we are so thankful you are here. The idea is to not, you know, talk negatively about any of these things. But the thing is, for people to assume that all people that have autism are the same, that's a real issue. That's hurtful, right?
Right. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I think a good example of this is when you actually applied to Full Sail University. And listen, we are huge Full Sail University fans. We're very happy with Full Sail University. Ideally, we'll do some type of collaboration with them in the future.
Absolutely.
But when you first applied to Full Sail University, what happened?
So my dad got an email from one of the advisors from there. Said, you know, are you sure that Tony wants to do this? There's a lot of people, like Tony was saying, a lot of people, what's the word?
Or nonverbal or socially awkward.
Social awkward. And they didn't think I could do this.
Yeah. Which is crazy because you'd already applied, like you had thought this through. And again, they hadn't met you yet. They hadn't had a conversation with them. You know, not everyone on the autism spectrum is the same. There are so many things, as we talked about, that could be different. You know, it was interesting. When we went to your graduation, I remember watching you walk across that stage. And of course, I was proud and all that, but that's not the conversation we're having now. I remember talking to Rachel, my wife, and basically saying, do you think Tony is the first person with autism to graduate from Full Sail University? And after a little bit of back and forth conversation, we realized probably not. But that's because autism it manifests in so many different ways, right? Right. You might have had someone that was, you know, your Sheldon Cooper type, socially awkward, but graduated with 9 degrees, academically elite, right? And then you might have had someone who had a different type of disability, right? There are thousands of disabilities that someone can have as a student. And there are plenty of them that fit in the autism category. But Tony's struggles were different and unique. And I think if you put someone at Tony's level of academic understanding in any college system, he would really struggle. So I think Tony did probably some of the best work to get through college that any student would have to be. You think of the metaphor of running a 100-meter sprint, how some people academically start at the 50-meter mark and only have to run 50 meters. Some people start at, 3 feet behind and they have to run an extra long time. Tony probably ran 200 meters just to finish this program. It was extremely taxing on you, right? Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah,
Which is not the university's fault. You signed up for this. They didn't make it extra difficult or anything like that. Academically, school's not your favorite thing.
No, it is not.
Why don't you talk about that? What are the things you struggle about from a school perspective?
Just the schoolwork and understanding it. I had to learn a lot about it. One class I had to do this program called OBS, which was so hard for me, and it wasn't just an 8-week course or 10-week, not a whole, I went online, so every month it was a different course and learning a lot more than anything. So it
was an accelerated course of study.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just a 4-year thing. It was super intense, quicker course of study. Again, what you signed up for. So it's nothing the university did wrong, but it was intense. Yep. And it was cumulative too. So it was, you have to learn this. And then once you've learned this, you can learn this. And you have to use what you learned. So you couldn't just fake your way through it. It wasn't like biology 101 when you're a business major and you're like, yeah, I can study flashcards and just regurgitate that information onto a test because I'll never use it again. You were constantly learning new things and you had to remember those things because those things would be used in the next class.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's hard. But...
Yeah, no, what Tiana was saying, with the different courses and learning more and learning how to do a cut sheet, a shop sheet, all of this that I had to learn, but just the behind the scenes, behind what I wanted to do. And, I gotta appreciate it,
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you had to learn all the layers. You learned the front desk stuff, but you also learned the behind the camera stuff. You learned the audio editing stuff. You learned the OBS stuff. There was a lot of stuff that you learned. You learned the whole gamut of sports broadcasting. I actually think they did a really good job, exposing you to all those things at the university. Let me close with one question, okay? We'll talk about this again sometime soon. What is your dream? I don't mean a month from now, a year from now, 5 to 10 years from now. Ideally, we keep on doing this podcast indefinitely.
Absolutely.
But what would be your dream?
Call a game.
Call a game from the booth. I was watching today, JJ Watt was talking about how he's going to call one of the Steelers games, for example, that his brother's playing in. Would you want to be the guy in the booth saying, "Oh, it's third and 10, and Russell Wilson's going to get sacked here"?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Calling a game. How about talking in front of a desk doing a segment on the show?
Yeah, having my own talk show.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that'd be awesome. And if you're hearing this, whether or not you're hearing this in 2025 or whether you're hearing this 3 years later, if you've got the ability to pull those strings, send us an email, please. We would love to have Tony come on your show. We would love to collaborate. We'd love to talk. The email is tonysupset.podcast@gmail.com. Again, it is in the show notes, as is our YouTube and Facebook page, but tonysupset.podcast@gmail.com. Tony, got anything else you want to leave the people with today?
I am good. But thank you, though.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you for listening to Tony's Upset, a sports podcast fueled by autism and brotherhood. Goodbye, y'all.